No, 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 no. I know that's.
I turned it off, Becky. No. Okay. I don't know if you wanted it or not.
I don't need
Oh,
no
right.
help at all.
Yeah.
Not man.
I also closed the window.
Yes.
Okay.
I love this thing.
Okay. Nice.
I ain't got to do no work when I come behind you. See you later. And if you close that door for me, that'll be good.
The Alliance's annual holiday gift guide makes it easier for people to local gifts. 3 Arkansas companies are featured in this year's edition, making products from wrapping paper and furniture to national sharpeners. All those for the product to be labeled "Made in America." All or virtually all components must come from the U.S. He cautions that terms like designed in, based in, or researched in the United States do not indicate American manufacturing. He notes there are legal penalties for mislabeling products.
It's one of those issues, blissfully, that hasn't been impacted by partisan politics. As we've seen in this country so often, there's still lots of different reasons for people to want to support jobs, the economy, small businesses, quality products.
Paul says that value has remained consistent despite U.S. consumer sentiment recently dropping to a near record low. He adds people are motivated by the positive ripple effects of buying American-made products. I'm Frida Ross, Arkansas News Service. Find our trust indicators at publicnewsservice.org.
Support for KABF 88.3 FM comes from Wright-Will University. Wright-Will University provides online, self-paced courses focused on writing and communication skills. Offerings include grammar, proofreading, copy editing, grant writing, sermon writing, AI prompt writing, and guidance on self-publishing. Each course includes a preview option, a certificate of completion, and supplemental learning materials. Radio 88 is the code available for a discount at wrightwilluniversity.com. Wright-Will University welcomes students, adult learners, and workplace professionals seeking to strengthen their written and spoken communication. More information is available at wrightwilluniversity.com. We thank Wright-Will University for supporting KABF 88.3 FM, the voice of the people.
This is Toney Orr, Chairman of the Board of KABF 88.3 FM. I want you to meet Alice. Who is she? You and me. Alice stands for Asset Limited Income Constrained Employee. Alice is working families facing high housing costs, medical debt, and more month than money. We are the majority of Arkansans. We need programs that work for us, as hard as we work for our state and families. Hey, policymakers and politicians, it's time to meet Alice. Who is Alice? All of us.
Yes, Bill Withers bringing us in this morning right here at KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. I am your host for the Community Voices Show, the Reverend Doctor. You can call me Denise, and I'm super excited to be here with you today. And I'm rolling solo. Tony announced that he would be out all this week. He is in France doing the work for the people. And so here I am all by myself, and I'm so glad to be with you this morning. I want to remind you that Community Voices centers Blackness in the context of the human story, centers Blackness in the context of the human story. So if you are a human, then this story is for you. And we're going to focus on how it impacts Black folks the most, but it also impacts all of us. So we invite you to join the conversation by calling in to 501-433-0088, 501-433-0088. The phone lines are already open and waiting for you to tell us something that you want us to know. Before we get started, though, I want to make sure that I make a couple of announcements, and I did not wear my glasses. So there's one announcement. I think I can see it from here. KABF Holiday Hangout Fundraiser is Tuesday, December 9th. That's next Tuesday, December 9th, from 5 to 7 p.m. at Whitewater Tavern. Kick back and meet KABF hosts during happy hour. And you can donate at www.kabf.org. I also have an announcement for this week. It's a whole week's announcement. It's already gotten started because it got started on December 1st, which is known to many of us as World AIDS Day. And there are many activities that you can participate in. So this is the second. Today's the second. The Ubuntu Civic Engagement at City Hall Boardroom. That's happening at 6 p.m. tonight at City Hall Boardroom, 500 West Markham. Also on December 3rd, which is tomorrow, Wednesday, from 3 to 7 p.m., the House of Love Preview, which is located right here at 1900 Scott Street. On December 4th, which is Thursday, we've got at 6 p.m. the comedy show at the Living Room Wellness Resource Center, located at 8619 Chico Road, with Mr. Andy Fez from Las Vegas, with the opening act, Mr. Jamad Emmanuel. There is a suggested donation. On December 5th, the third annual Torch Awards ceremony will take place at Living Room Wellness Resource Center, 8619 Chico Road in Little Rock, and that starts at 7 p.m. Consider sharing a gift from our Amazon wish list. All donations will support our House of Love housing concepts. If you need more information, you can contact Tommy at arrapps.org. Contact Tommy at arrapps.org, or you can call 501-3719, or you can call 501-379-8357, or you can call 501-379-8357. I think I'm at the point now in my age where I think I'm doing fine. Like, I'm not wearing my glasses. I'm like, I got it. But really, girl, you're going to have to put these glasses on. So we greet you this morning in the spirit of Sawubona, that spirit that reminds us that we are one. And that binding of the oneness, what unites us is our humanity. So if we can just focus on the way that we show up as human to human, that would help us a great deal in this country. So greetings to all of you in the spirit of Sawubona. I want to talk about Bill Withers first, and then I'll ground us in our EJI tidbit for today, the one that I chose for today. So Bill Withers is Black man, American musician. Yes, many of you know him for that song, but also for Lovely Day, Lovely Day. Yeah, we know him. He talks in this song about needing each other and the importance of recognizing that we are created to be communal. There is no one on this planet that can navigate this life all alone. I know people talk about folks being a self-made this or a self-made, or there's no such thing as that. That's a lie. That's a myth. That is not the correct narrative that you should receive into your spirit. All of us need each other. And what Bill Withers says, though, he's like, listen, I'm here if you need me, but I don't know what you need unless you tell me. I cannot read your mind. I am not psychic. I'm not trying to be psychic. I don't wish to be psychic. I just want to be someone who companions you along your way. So if I have something that you need, I'll be glad to give it to you. Now, here's the kicker for Bill Withers. I don't want to just give it to you so I can post on Facebook or post on these people who have to post when they're doing something for folks. I question your motives. Like, why do you have to put it on Facebook that you gave somebody some water or something to eat? Like, I'm not understanding. But Bill Withers says, I'm not just doing it for you. Like, I understand that in the spirit of Sawubona, that whatever is impacting you may very well impact me as well. So even though I just happen to be in this season able to help you, there may very well be a season right around the corner where I need help too. So I'm giving unto others in the hopes that you will then give back to me. So this is a reciprocal, this is mutual aid. We're in this together. We were reciprocating. I want to say reciprocity. We're reciprocating. Like, whatever that you need that I have, I'll give it freely. And so I appreciate him saying that about us needing to open up and share with others what's going on. And that's what the conversation is about today. And so what I want to have on the table for you is to ask the question, like, what topics as people, as humans, particularly though as Black folks, do we fail to discuss? Like, what are those topics that we need to tackle? We need to face these issues. We need to have conversations around them. But for whatever reason, and it's a plethora of reasons, and we can talk about that today, for whatever reason, we choose not to have conversations that really, without having them, it's detrimental to our health, our well-being, our spirit, our mind, our body, and our soul. So that's what the conversation is about this morning. And again, you are welcome to join us at 501-433-0088. The phone lines are absolutely open. So here is our tidbit for today, on December 1st, which was yesterday, but I want to read this on today. On December 1st in 1955, police in Montgomery, Alabama, arrested seamstress and activist Rosa Parks for refusing to give up her seat on a segregated city bus. On December 1st in 1955, that's in some of y'all's lifetime, police in Montgomery, Alabama, arrested seamstress and activist Rosa Parks for refusing to give up her seat on a segregated city. Now, I believe that anybody who knows anything about the civil rights, Black civil rights, knows the story of Rosa Parks, knows that she refused to give up her seat. Part of the story that's not being shared most of the time is the fact that this was a strategic move. The way that the narrative out there is, no, this Black woman was just tired. She was walking home from work, she was tired, and she didn't feel like getting up, so she said no. And that is not the case. It was a strategic move, a tactic in making sure that the campaign for civil rights could jump off in a new and different way, so that those at the time could fight the powers that be, fight discrimination, fight segregation, fight dehumanization, fight degradation, fight all of those things. And so I believe with every ounce of my being that we don't want to tell the story of how strategic it was, because we don't want to shed light on Black intellectualism. We don't want to shed light on Black resistance. We don't want to shed light on Black collaboration. We want to make it seem like this is just something that just happened, and it just kicked off from there, and that's not the case. And so I want to make sure that I say that part, because I'm honestly tired of every time we talk about Black history, we bring up Dr. King and Rosa Parks like they were the only ones. Like, oh my goodness, it's so much more. There are so many more people that are vital to this movement, even some of them that remain unnamed today. And so I wanted to add that tidbit. And I want to also remind us that Rosa Parks was not just the woman who refused to give up her seat on the table. She was also very active in the chapter of NAACP. And she was when she joined, she was the chapter's only woman member. She was the only woman in the chapter in Alabama when she joined in 1943. She was also an integral part of pushing for the prosecution of the white men who raped Reese Taylor. So she was an investigator. Like, we don't talk about that part. We don't talk about we talk about what she did. We don't talk about who she is. And one of the things that we do need to be reminded of, especially today, and especially the way that Black folks are entangled in all of these systems of oppression and domination, that we are not what we do. Just wherever I work, like, it really bothers me when I go somewhere and they say, "Oh, hey, what's your name?" "My name is Denise." And they say, "What do you do?" Like, what does it have to do with anything? Right? Like, where are we going with this? What are we trying to get to? And what we're usually, the end of it is usually that I want to see how much I'm going to value you based on what you do, because what you do defines who you are in the mindset of those people. And that is absolutely not the case. So many of us, especially those of us who have had formal education, we have a degree, but we don't do work in that degree. We're not working in that area. Like, that's what we thought we were going to do, or that's what we were pushed to do, or that's what we were encouraged to do, but that's not what ended up happening, because life be life, and we take all kinds of twists and turns. And so people want to know what you do in order to figure out how they're going to interact with you. But the Spirit of Sawubona says, I want to embrace the whole of who you are in this space, and you don't have to tell me anything about where you work. I want to get to know you. I want to know what's behind that smile. I want to know what that energy is that came in. I want to know how it is that you shifted the atmosphere when you just walked through the door. What is it about you? Something about the essence of who you are that has absolutely nothing to do with how much money you make, or where you work, or what kind of car you drive, or where you live. None of that is important. And so I wanted to give some more information about Rosa Parks so that we will stop just seeing her as a woman who just so happened to not get up, because that's we want to challenge that narrative. And I also want to take the time to say that Rosa Parks was not the only person who refused to give up her seat. In fact, she was not the first person who refused to give up her seat. And this part of the conversation is what brought me to the topic of, let's talk about the issues that we don't talk about. Like, let's talk about why we don't talk about. Let's talk about what we don't talk about that we need to talk about. So Claudette Colvin. So I think it was, so we just said that it was in December that Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on the segregated bus in Montgomery, Alabama, which is also where the Legacy Museum sits today. And the Legacy Museum is the one that gave birth to the EJI tidbits. So these tidbits that I use every single Tuesday come from the work that Brian Stevenson is doing with his team in Montgomery. And so if you have not yet been to the Legacy, and if you are ever able to go, I highly recommend it. I highly recommend it. Just walking in the door will change your entire perspective. And for some of us, it will pierce your soul and give you a whole new outlook on who you are in this continuum of what it means to be Black in an anti-Black world. But Claudette Colvin refused to give her seat up in March. So that was in March. Let me see, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Okay, so 9 months before Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat, Claudette Colvin did. She refused to, and she was 15 years old. A lot of times, I know a lot of times we have these conversations where we look to the generation behind us and we are hoping that you're going to save us, because we didn't do it. We thought we was going to do it. We hoped that we were going to do it. We tried to do it, but we didn't. So now we're looking for you to save us. And so this 15-year-old decides that she's not going to give up her seat on this segregated bus. And she wasn't as widely known as Rosa Parks, and we'll talk about why in just a minute. But when they wanted her to give up her seat, but she said, listen, wait a minute. I paid my money. This is a 15-year-old talking to the authority, the white authority. She said, I paid my money. It's my constitutional right to remain. Listen to this 15-year-old. It's some of us 53-year-olds who would not dare to challenge authority to their face for fear of losing a job, for fear of losing face, for fear of losing community, whatever it is that makes us so scared. But this 15-year-old says, no, partner, I'm not about to do that. You can't make me. You can arrest me, but you can't make me. And so here is Takia. Hey, Takia. So you can make me do something because you take away my rights through this unjust law. But in terms of me freely giving up my rights, and you're not going to make me do that. I'm going to stand firm on who I am. But let's talk about why Claudette Colvin is not as revered, not as memorable, not as talked about as Rosa Parks, because that's going to get us into our conversation today. One of the reasons is that Claudette Colvin, she was, let me see how to say this. She was not polished. Right? She didn't have the lighter skin. She didn't have the longer, quote unquote, good hair. She didn't have the look that the movement at the time wanted to put forward as the face of the work that was about to be done. This campaign that was brewing. This campaign that had been that was about to go forward in a different way from the way that they had been fighting before. One of the reasons that she did not have the look is because she was, I got to use these quotes, and I'm only using these words because I feel like these are the words that y'all know. Where people call you nappy-headed, we should not use that. Like, some people use it though, because there's a whole movie called Nappily Ever After. So when we start talking about language, we have to broaden our horizon and say, yes, there are some people who consider this to be an offensive word. There are some people who consider it to be a word that they have reclaimed. So wherever you are on the spectrum, I'm not trying to offend you. I'm just saying, some of us say nappy, some of us say kinky, some of us say whatever we say. But I know that I grew up hearing people use the word nappy. So she was a nappy-headed little Black girl, and she was pregnant, and she was not married. And so all of these were ticks against her. Like, we don't want, because the movement, and I don't want to say that because the movement, I don't want to say that the movement necessitated it, but the people who were working at that time, that I am not going to judge for their decisions. I'm just going to put it on the table, and you can take away from it whatever you want, whatever you don't want, just leave it there. It's fine with me. But they believed in respectability politics. They believed that respectability politics would play a huge role in getting their voices heard. Because there are some people in this world, just based on how you show up, they automatically tune you out. Especially Black folks, you show up in the front of the room, they're like, I'm not listening to them. If you're thicker than a snicker, I'm not listening to them. If you have on the wrong, you're not trending with the fashion, people just automatically turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to you. So respectability politics actually played a role in saying, hey, we got to do whatever it takes to be heard. And if that means then that we have to put somebody in the front who they can receive, who is palatable for the white community, then that's what we choose to do. And so that's what they chose to do. Claudette Colvin did not fit that. She was not. Respectability politics be damned is how she felt, and which is how I feel. But we are still dealing with that even today. Respectability politics. And I didn't even write that on my list, but that's something we can talk about too. Let's see what Takia is saying. I'm already loving the course of this conversation. Your first point reminds me of some of the talking points or themes of The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. Let me say that again. I'm already loving the course of this conversation. Your first point reminds me of some of the talking points or themes of The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. And you just saying that, Takia, reminded me of James Baldwin. Y'all, I am falling in love with James Baldwin. I already knew who he was, who he is, because energy doesn't die. I've read a couple of books by his, Giovanni's Room. I definitely read that, The Fire Next Time. But I was reading more just because I'm a voracious reader. Like, I'm just an avid reader. I want to read everything. But just delving into his life and getting to know the way his mind worked, and listening to some of his one of the community members sent me a conversation that he was having. So these debates that he would have, these quotes that you can read, like, I am just fascinated with him. And one of the things that he talked about is because as a Black person, you don't see yourself reflected anywhere. You don't have a mirror in your home. You don't have TV. You're not watching TV. And even if you are watching TV, Black people are not centered in any way. And so you don't know that you're Black, so you really don't understand why you're being treated the way that you are. The people that are around you that you see, you think that you look like them, and so you see how they're being treated, and you're being treated differently, and it's like this whole conundrum. Like, I'm just discombobulated right now, like what is happening. And so not this colorism, this racism, this way of seeing each other and choosing not to see each other and labeling as negative the way that we see each other. That's very much a part of his story, as well as in The Bluest Eye with Toni Morrison. So thank you, Takia, for calling us to that, for bringing into the space and allowing me to bring into the space our ancestors, Toni and James, Mr. James Baldwin and Miss Toni Morrison. And so this colorism is one of the topics that we don't talk about in the Black community. We don't talk about it in the world. And we have to begin to ask ourselves, we have to talk about it, because until we talk about it, we're not able to name it in ourselves. It's so easy for us to point the finger at somebody else. But what was it? Ethel Waters, yeah, that's her name, Ethel Waters. She is a Black woman, jazz musician, singer. She made popular that phrase that if you're pointing at me, you have to remember that there are 3 fingers pointing back at you. And then what is the principle in the Bible? It's like you trying to get a whole beam out of you trying to get a little speck out of my eye, you got a whole beam in yours. And so these principles of how we choose to look at other folks without being able to turn the mirror around and see ourselves for who we are, that's an issue. So some of us are operating in colorism and we don't even know it. What is colorism? Colorism is this paper bag theory where depending on the shade of Blackness that you are, like you still Black, man. You can be as light as those people who could pass for white, but you're still Black. And those shade, we focus on the shade of Blackness that you are to determine your value and determine your worth. And so many of us, when we are dating, we will say, I ain't gonna date nobody that's blue Black, or smoke Black, or dark Black, because you're concerned about your children. Like you're concerned about is my child gonna have dark? I don't want my child to have dark skin. Why not? Because this world favors lighter skin. And so that's one of the conversations that came up with Megan and oh my goodness, the Duchess and her husband when they first got married. I don't know if it was just when they first got married, but we began to hear these stories after they got married about how the British establishment, the people, the court, his mom and dad, it was so concerned, like, wait a minute, she's Black, so what's your child gonna look like? Like, is your child gonna come out like black? Like, wait a minute, like let's stop this marriage because we don't want this intercourse to take place because we don't want you to give birth to a Black baby, because some people are still following that 1 drop rule. If you got 1 drop of Black, then that makes you Black. So it doesn't matter about anything else that's going on. If you got 1 drop, and we need to label you as Black. And so some of us are not even realizing, because we cannot name it in ourselves, because we're not talking about this colorism, that I don't know when it started, but for me, and anybody can push back, please let me know if I'm wrong. I ain't got no problem being wrong. I really don't. What I got a problem with is y'all knowing I'm wrong, and then you don't tell me I'm wrong, but then you go around talking to everybody else about how wrong I am. That's what I have a problem with. Because I'm right here, and I'm open for the conversation. Let's just have it out. Let's just talk about it. But during the system of enslavement, there was a physical barrier between the people who were enslaved that worked in the fields and the people who were enslaved that worked in the house. And those people who worked in the house were of lighter skin. And so they were treated differently because they did not have to do the manual labor. I mean, the exploitation of their bodies was different in the house than it was in the field. Black people were being exploited either way, being raped either way, being dehumanized either way. It didn't matter where you were. But there was something about being in the house because the white people wanted you lighter if you're going to be in the house with them. And so there would be a fence usually around the plantation. There's usually a fence at some point. And so the people that are in the house are behind the fence on this side. And then the people who are in the field, then you're on that other side. And so the darker your skin, the more prone you were to be on the other side. And so that fence served as a dividing line, like, oh, so we're better than you are because we're of lighter skin, because that's what the white folks made you think. Again, it didn't matter to them whether you were light or dark, because they were going to dehumanize you either way. But it just made you think that you were special in some way because of your color. And we still carry that with us today. My own mama, I'm a legacy actually. So my mom, she pledged AKA when she was of that age to do so. And she didn't even want to be an AKA, if I'm not mistaken. She wanted to be a Zeta, but there was the paper bag test and she didn't pass it. So you take a paper bag, even now, take a paper bag and you put it up against the person's face and you say, are you darker, are you lighter? And then we're going to determine where you fit into our image of who we want to be. And so colorism is something that we don't talk about. And that also feeds into interracial relationships. Like we are in a world now, especially since the passage of same gender loving folks being able to marry. Just because, since we passed that act, we're talking about love is love. Like that was one of the campaign slogans, love is love. It doesn't matter who you are, what your sexual orientation, gender identity, race, creed, like none of that matters. Love is love. And so that's what we use. We talk about that, like, you know, as long as the person loves you, it's okay. But again, as a Black person, it does matter. And when you decide to partner with someone who's of a different race, then there's a whole slew of other challenges that come along to impact your relationship, because there are still people saying that you should not mix. And it's, I hear Black folks say that you shouldn't engage in interracial relationships, but I hear it more from white folks, and they be worried about the sex. It all comes down to the sex. And it's so interesting to me, because another topic that we need to talk about is sex. And so one of the problems that people have with interracial relationships is that, okay, at some point y'all gonna have sex and y'all gonna have babies. Like, I got a problem with you having sex. I got a problem with this Black man having sex with my white daughter. I have a problem with my white son having sex with this Black woman. Like, we got a problem with that. So you got a problem with sex and how it unfolds in this relationship, but you don't want to talk about sex. So we still have people in 2025 running around here talking about abstinence. Like, okay, just don't do it. Like, that's not even realistic. And most of the people who are talking about not doing it are doing it. So it's like, most of us are, and what happens, the one who gets pregnant, like, you just got, quote unquote, this is how the story goes, like, you just got caught. Like, yo, I might be doing it, but you can't tell, because at least I ain't pregnant, you don't know. And so that's the issue of, like, talking about abstinence and rooting it in religion. Like, it's high time for us to rethink that and to just deal with the reality of things, because that's what we're not choosing to do. And so these issues that we're refusing to talk about, the issues of colorism, the issue of sex, the issue of mental health concerns, that's one of the things that's on the list. I guess I should just name the things on the list, so if you want to call and talk about one of them, you can. And so y'all might have your own list, but what I was thinking about, we don't talk enough about mental health, especially in the Black community. And I think about my dad. My dad refused to, I believe my dad was mentally ill, that he had some brain health issues. I think it runs in my family, but no one has been diagnosed, because no one will go to a therapist to have that work done. But if you can see the things that I see, and you know the things that I know, it's like, something else going on. But not only would my daddy not go to a mental health therapist, he would not even, we didn't even offer that to him, but he wouldn't go to the doctor, period. Like, he just believed that he could handle it. He believed that whatever it is, he'll push through it. And one of the beautiful things about my mom and dad's relationship, like, their room was like, the children's room were like in a separate part of the house. Theirs was the only room where they were. So at some point before I was born, they added on and this is my brother, and I want you to know that I'm on the radio, and I answered your call because y'all done told you stop, Dwayne. Call me back. I'm on the radio. I'm just playing with you. I'm on the radio. My brother, for him to call at this point, must have something, but I need to let him know. I'll talk to him later. But my dad and mom is the beauty of their relationship in their bedroom. And if you were in the den, so there's the den, and then there's a hall that from the den goes straight through the hall, and now you're in their bedroom. And you can sometimes hear them from the den, because that's where the TV was. We didn't have TVs in our room. We didn't have phones in our room. We were not that kind of family. And so sometimes my daddy would be aching and hurting at night in the bed, and you could hear him like groan. You could hear him kind of moan or wail or whatever expression of pain. He would moan, and my mama would moan too. Like, it was so cute, because she's like, I feel your pain. I'll carry it with me. Like, I want to help you. And when you hurt, I hurt. That is one of the beautiful things about their relationship. I still remember that. But my daddy wouldn't go. So my dad for us was this strong hero of a man, like this superhero. Like, he was like, I believed he had super strength. Like, he was just like, oh my goodness, look at this Black man. He can handle anything and everything all the time. And so when he did get sick for real, and he could not just moan it away, and he could not refuse or resist anymore to go to the doctor. He went down fast. And so that's another theory that we have, that those of us who don't usually get sick, when we finally do, it scares us because we believe that this sickness must be unto death, because I can no longer ignore it. I can no longer self-diagnose. I can no longer self-medicate. Like, this is huge. And for him, it absolutely is huge. It was huge because it was the beginning of the end of his life as we knew it, life in his body as we knew him. And so not talking about brain health issues, believing that we don't need to go to the doctor. And we also have to talk about the fact too, that many of us cannot go to the doctor. We do not have access to competent healthcare, competent healthcare providers. We do not have access to healthcare systems. We do not have healthcare systems that see us as human, and we do not have healthcare systems that listen to us. I used to go to this doctor. Oh my goodness, what was his name? It was on R Street or H Street over there. Is that Hillcrest or the Heights? I get the Heights and Hillcrest mixed up all the time. So it's on Kavanaugh. You can get there from off of Cantrell. Like if you take a right on University and then take a right on that First Street, it was up in that little. He was recommended to me. I was referred to him by somebody. I don't remember who, but I was telling him that I had a cold or something. Something was going on with me, and I was the only one in the office who had it. So he kept saying to me that, "Oh no, you're getting it from somebody." I'm like, "I'm the only one in the office who has it." He's like, "No, they're just not telling you." And so I left him. Like, I was like, when I left that appointment, I said, I'm not going back to him because he is not listening to me. Nobody knows your body better than you do. So some of us suffer from white coat syndrome. That's when the doctor tells us something and we believe it because the doctor said it. Because since you're the doctor, you must know what you're talking about. So no matter what I'm feeling, no matter what I'm thinking, no matter how I am experiencing my own body, I'm going to let you tell me based on your expertise. And I have to remind people, I had to remind my mama of this. If you walk into the doctor's office right now and you say, I came in because I need to see you, there's something going on with me, the doctor is going to ask you a slew of questions. If you don't answer any of those questions, like how long has it been, like what's the level of pain? Is it a sharp pain? If you don't answer any of those questions, they can't help you. You have to be an active participant in what's going on in order for them to help you. So they don't have all the answers. They have knowledge that you don't have. And so with your participation and their knowledge, you collaborate, you try to figure out what's going on. You don't just take what their word is just because they read a book. Listen, I know what it means to read a book and think you know something. That's how I was when I was a teacher. I had been to school, so I had read a book. I had passed some tests. I had done all this stuff. But when I walked into that classroom for the first day, all of that stuff went out the window. I'm like, what? So we have to be able to say, let's talk about mental health. Let's talk about our bodies. Let's talk about what we can do in the face of the discrimination that keeps us away from culturally competent healthcare. Because some of us have so many remedies that we're not calling healing remedies that we have from our childhood. Like somebody, I don't know, I think it must have been on TikTok. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not good on social media. Somebody, if you send it to me, I'm gonna watch it. But if you just think I'm just on TikTok scrolling, that is not what I'm doing. But they were talking about pot liquor. Oh no, it was that podcast I was listening to for the 10 weeks that I was walking with this walking podcast. They were talking about how the pot liquor, those of us who cook greens, that the pot liquor is the liquid that's left over after you cook your greens. I don't care if it's mustard green, turnip greens, if it's mustard and turnip, if you put some kale in there, it doesn't matter. Even if it's collard greens, there's a liquid, and that liquor has healing properties for us. And most of us, we throw that away because we're going to go to the Walgreens and get what they say we need off the shelf instead of realizing that no, we have these remedies. We have these healing we've got a wealth of knowledge that we're carrying around in our bodies, particularly as members of the African diaspora, that we have thrown away, that we dismiss, that we disregard, because we keep being bombarded with this narrative that white is right, and that the lighter you are, the closer you are to white, and so you need to do what they do so that you can be embraced. But no, that's not what we need to do at all. We need to unlearn all of that and remember again who we really are. And you better get that potluck. You better get some of that cod liver oil. Like we know what to do. We just choose not to. And how is somebody, I don't remember who told me this, but they're like, as Black folks, we give away our stuff for free and then they monetize it, and then we buy it from them. Now we got the answers, but we give it away because we don't deem it valuable. So we give it away, and then they turn around and figure out how to monetize it because it's all about capitalism. And then we become participants, willing, active participants in the system of capitalism that is exploiting us because we're not going to get any royalties or anything. We get nothing. We got to rethink that. Let's see what Takia is saying. I remember having to take control of my labor and delivery with my oldest. It was the height of COVID, and you still had to get tested before being admitted. But I was so far along that they put me in my room and was going to test me there. The nurse was trying to swab my nose, and I had to yell, "Ma'am, I am having a contraction. You have to wait." Everyone seemed shocked that I even spoke up. So wait a minute now. Let me make sure I'm understanding. So you're pregnant, so far along that you like this baby, because the baby, look, I don't care what they say about no due date, the baby gonna come when the baby ready. So the baby like, listen, I'm on my way. Y'all get ready. And she like, no, I need to put this swab. Wait, so swabbing my, in this moment? Like, no. And then here's the kicker though. So you said something about it. Takia says, I said something, and everyone seemed shocked that I spoke up, that I even spoke up. Why are you shocked, ma'am? In the work that I do as a cultural strategist, we have these conversations about revealing and bringing and raising to your level of consciousness the biases that you hold. One of the tips that I offer for people who are trying to figure out if they are biased, because a lot of people don't believe they have bias. We have bias. All of us as humans have bias. It's wired into our bodies because it really does protect us from some things. The problem is we use the bias in the wrong way. Some bias is healthy, some bias is unhealthy, and we are focused on the unhealthy bias. And so one of the tips that I offer is whenever you find yourself surprised about something, it's usually an indicator that you are biased. So when Takia says everyone seems shocked that I even spoke up, like, why are you shocked? Because you don't expect Black people to speak up. Like, why? Because we've been conditioned not to. We've been terrorized not to. We've been dehumanized so that we don't. And so for some, it's a protective measure not to speak up. Because I always advocate for people to speak up at all times, in all places, in front of all people. I say that all the time, at all times, in all places, in front of all people. But for everybody, that does not work. You have to decide, like, wait, can I speak up in this moment, or do I need to wait till I get home? Or do I need to wait and get out of this situation and then say what I need to say? Like, even when we talk about our Black children and our Black people who get stopped by law enforcement, like, do you have a right to say all of these things? You absolutely do. Should you? I'm not sure. For me, my goal is to get you home. Once you get, while they talking, while they doing whatever, get that badge number, see it in your head, get that name, and when we go home, when you get home, together we can work this out, right? So in this moment, it might not be the right moment for you to pop off. Now, can you? Yes. Should you? I don't know. It depends. You got to figure that out for yourself. But for them being surprised, it tells you about their bias, especially as it relates to Black folks. And so Takia says, yes, I was 7 centimeters dilated when I got to the hospital. When you got to the hospital, I was 7 centimeters dilated when I got to the hospital. So the contractions were really rolling at this point. Like, it is visible to everyone in the room. I told her, I am not bypassing your protocol, but you gonna wait until I come up out of this contraction. Okay, right. So it's not that you're saying I don't want to follow protocol. It's not that you're saying I'm throwing the concerns around COVID to the wind. I'm not saying that. I'm saying right now in this moment, Miss Ma'am, I don't need you to focus on the fact that I'm having a contraction. And I feel like that even in the world today, when we talk about Black folks, we like, listen, I know that the world seems to be growing up in flames, but I'm over here in hell. I'm in the eternal flame. Like, this is eternal for me. Okay, so let's listen. So everybody got stuff that we need to talk about, but I'm the one that's burning up the most. So what we gonna do? It's my house that's on fire right now. Like, can your house catch on fire? Sure, at some point, but right now, this is what I need you to focus on. And I'm sure brown people are saying that right now too. Like, listen, immigration, listen. We need you to understand that right now we are on fire. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to help us? How can we lean on you, as Bill Withers would say? Takia said, yeah, Miss Good Ma'am. Miss Good Ma'am. I've been calling people Miss Good, Mr. Good Sir. Girl, I love that. Miss Good Ma'am, I'm going to need you to wait. And so being able to speak up for ourselves, like that's something that we have to talk about. And I just had, another reason that I'm having this conversation is because I just had this experience myself. Where somebody asked me if I felt like what I said was appropriate for where I was. And I said, and let me just say this, I was in a parking lot. Let me just say that. I was in a parking lot. So like, do you think that what you said was appropriate for, and I was like, well, for me, I feel like anything that comes out of my mouth is appropriate, because if I said it, I meant to say it and I wanted to say it. Like I'm a very intentional person. Like I don't get these people that's like, I don't know. I just opened my mouth and something just fell out. Or I don't know. I just got in the room with him, my clothes fell off. Like, I don't know. I just looked up one day and I was in love. I don't know. I just looked up and I was married. Like those things never, ever, ever happened to me. So if I crafted the sentence, it's because I wanted to share it. And so this idea that you need to talk about it, there's certain places where you can talk about something. And then as she continued to talk to me about it, she said, yeah, because we don't want to think. We came out here so that we didn't have to think. And I was like, wait, there are places where you don't have to think? Like, because even in the midst of a card game, how many of you all have been playing cards? Like, I'm talking about for real, playing cards like spades, like I play cards. Like, I'm talking noise. It's alcohol on the table for those of us who drink. It's non-alcoholic beverages for those who don't drink. It's some water in there, and it's got dominoes on the table. Like, we doing it in here. Like, we talking loud. We getting right. I slap the card. Sometimes I put it on my head so you can see I got this last book, and you finna get like all of that's happening. And somebody will say something that changes everything, and we realize we didn't put these. Wait, we got to put what you say now? We got to put these cards down, because now is the time for us to commune. Now is the time for us to glean some wisdom for the people that are in this room. What you need to hear, what you need to know, what you need to learn is all of that information is in this room right now. So I don't know of a space where you go so you can't think. Like, I want to turn my brain off. Y'all have to talk to me about that, because I don't do that. Oh, I said I was going to give y'all this list and y'all can tell me what it. So I said mental health. What we also don't talk about is money, the economic state of affairs in our own lives. We don't want to talk. And I say this too. Now, I am guilty, I must confess, of saying this. I don't want nobody counting my money. Like, I don't want people counting my money. What I mean by that is, if you go shopping with somebody, this is my experience. You go shopping with somebody, let's say, for instance, you see me, purses and shoes, like, I got a lot of purses and a lot of shoes. Well, that used to be my thing. And I would pay more money for a purse than I would for a shirt. I would pay more money for a pair of shoes than I would for a dress. Like, that's just how my mind was working at the time. And so if I see a person that's like, I don't know, $50, because that's high to me right now. Listen, I told y'all I'm not trendy. So that's high to me. Well, I'm going to pay $50 for a purse. Anyway, if I pay $50 and somebody said, "Ooh, girl, you're going to pay $50 for that?" Like, don't count my money. That's what I mean by don't count my money. But in terms of having conversation about how we are navigating our finances, how we are thinking about, or if we are thinking about, or whether we need to begin to think about, or whether we're past the point of needing to think about how our whether or not our finances are working as vehicles. Because I think that we in this country, especially as Black folks, we have been duped into this idea of wanting more and getting more and amassing wealth. Like, we think that the goal is to be able to say, I make six figures so I can live in a house that demonstrates that I make six figures. And I want to drive a car that shows that I make six figures. And I want to wear clothes that shows that I make six figures. But your six figures, and in that case, you're using your six figures to amass material things, but you're not using your six figures as a vehicle so that you can build wealth and that you'll have a economic legacy to leave for your children. So many of us have legacies to leave, but not all of us have economic legacies. And there's a reason why a lot of us are not able, like you working, and you're not able. But you know what? I did hear this one. Oh, I was trying to get her on the show. I got to call her back. Her daughter wrote a book. Her daughter and her son wrote a book, and she's a Black woman financier. And she did say that. She said, no matter what your income level, you can always save. And she has tools and tips for us to figure out how to do that. I promise y'all, I'm going to find her because she in my email somewhere. She on my phone somewhere. We need to get her in so she can talk about that. And so we don't talk about it being used, money being used as a vehicle. We're only talking about money being amassed. And we think then, because we have all of these things, that we are wealthy. And it's because we believe that by having this, making this amount of money, living in this place, driving this car, it gets us closer to whiteness, because now we're living in the closer to them. So we're a white adjacent. And so that means that we have all these things, and we can prove that we have all these things because they can see us moving in this way. But what we're not thinking about is that they have all of those things, and they're going to leave an economic legacy to their children. And so we only have one part of the equation, which is not even the most important part. If you want to choose which side of the equation you want to be on, let's be on the side that's going to leave the economic legacy. Like my daddy was like, look, we're going to eat pork and beans and wieners. We used to eat wieners too, turkey wieners. We used to have them in the house, and we would just eat them out the refrigerator. And so if I got to eat pork and beans and wieners, the first thing I'm going to do when I get my check is pay myself. Like, that's the first thing I'm going to do. And so they left a legacy for us, and that's how they were able to do it. And so talking about money, not telling somebody how much they ought to spend for a purse, but hey, do you have a vision in mind for your money? What does a retirement look for you? Do you have a 401k? Are you matching your corporation's donation to that contribution to the 401k? Because they might be offering 3%, but you can put up to 6%. So their 3% and your 3%. Say now you got, like, you can match that. Like, there are ways that you can build wealth without even knowing that you're building wealth. Like, coming out of your paycheck without you even thinking about it. Because that's another thing that happens to us. If it gets into our hands, we is going to spend it, many of us. And so we can set up all of these ways of navigating our finances so that it can just be a pass through. It comes right into our account and right out of our account into a savings, into a portfolio, into whatever it is, an annuity, whatever it is that you're trying to figure out. And so we don't talk about mental health. We don't talk about our economic state of affairs. We don't talk about sex. We don't talk about colorism. We don't talk about the strong Black woman. Oh my goodness, the strong Black woman syndrome. And I was complicit in it the other day. I have a friend who's really going through. And she was finally able to lift up out of the fog enough to call me. And we were on the phone and we were talking. And at some point she asked me, well, Denise, what would you do if this was happening to your body? Like, I feel like I'm doing the best that I can. What would you do? And I said to her, I said, you know what? I think you should ask somebody else, because I'm Black. And as a Black woman, you know what I would do? I would put my head down and I would get it done. That's what I do. It wasn't until after we finished talking, and I guess I went walking or something, or maybe I was sweeping and walking and showering. Those are the places where I can think the best and think the most, and in the wee hours of the morning. And so whatever activity I was doing, and I started thinking, I was like, oh girl, that's that Black girl. That's that Black woman syndrome. That we're supposed to be, who is that sings the song? Karen White. I'm not your superwoman. Oh no. Okay. So like we carry that theory that we can, look, I'm Black, I'm woman, I know how to do it. I can handle all of these things. I can take care of this house. I can take care of these children. I can please my man. I can do all this stuff. I can go to work. I can do all of this. And I'm never supposed to think about my mental health. I'm never supposed to center my body. I'm never supposed to take a day off. I'm never supposed to relax for just a minute. I'm never supposed to be able to get away and just say, look, y'all, somebody else gonna have to do this stuff up in here, because I need to tend to my own self, because we are always pushing. And if you are like me, it's because you were conditioned to do so as a child. And especially in the Black community, when you have so many forces against you living in you rearing your children in a two-parent household. When you think about the war on welfare, when they said, if you are on welfare, you Black women, you are women, period, but I'm talking about Black folks, you cannot have a man in the house. Like, what? And then, oh, this just boggles my mind about the system of white inhumanity. Like, you create the inhumane things, and then you judge us for being part of the inhumane things. Like, and so you're like, you create situations where there aren't two parents in the Black home in particular, and then you say, look at them, they ain't got shit. She thinks she the head of the household. She the head of the household. She a woman. Like, you created this, and now you judge it, and now you shame us for it, and we fall for the okie doke in believing it's our fault. It's not our fault. It's your fault. And what we have to do, though, is when we say it's our fault, it's not our fault that these systems were designed. It's not our fault that they were designed with us as targets in mind. Yes, the systems affect every person on this planet, but the target of the system is Blackness. And so we don't want to talk about talk much about how we got to be in this situation, and that was by design. But then you shame me for it, and then I don't want to talk about it because now I'm ashamed. And there's no reason for us to be ashamed. And so this is what Bill Withers is saying to us. Like, listen, you just might have a problem that I can understand. That's what he says. My favorite principle in the Bible, my favorite one of all time right now in this season of my life, is 1 Corinthians 10 and 13. It says, listen, whatever you are going through, you are not the only person who is going through it, or who has gone through it, or who will go through it. Nothing. This is not new. You are not alone. Right? Whatever it is, you're not the first person. But no matter what it is, there's a way of escape. There is a way out of it for you. And so this helps to buffer us so that we won't fall prey to suicidal ideation, which is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. But we can look around us and say, hey, sometimes the person doesn't even have to go. Like me, I have people who are addicted to drugs, injection drugs, opioids. I have those people in my family, in my extended family. I've watched them over the years. So I've got some solutions for you, even though I haven't, I don't smoke, I don't inject, I don't do that. Like, I don't have to go through it like as an eyewitness. I can go through it as an ear witness. I can go through it as adjacent witness. Like, so there's like, or there are some people that you're like, no, I want somebody who's really experienced this. I want somebody who's really been in the hospital room, in labor, and you feel, and you know for a fact they're not listening to you while you are going through labor of all things. And so he said, listen, you might have, you got a problem, and I might just understand it, but I don't know it unless you share it with me. And so we got to be able to have these conversations. So let me keep going down the list. And so the strong black woman syndrome. Oh, and the emasculation of Black men, that syndrome, where we've got women, Black women like me, because I'm a Black woman, I identify as, I ain't got no problem identifying as Black. I know that race is a construct, but I also know that race is how the world is through the race is the lens through which this world sees me. So I have to own the reality of that. Now you talk to me, you ask me who I am, the last thing I'm gonna say is Black. But when we're having a real conversation about how the world views us and what's happening in the world, then I'm gonna unapologetically own my Blackness. And so we've got these Black women who, again, are like me. We're degreed. Several of us have more than one degree, and we are heads of households. We have ownership of cars or houses or whatever it is that we own. We may or may not have children. So the world has the systems have allowed us to be in the places that we are, in the positions that we are, in ways that they have not allow Black men to be in the same position. And yet we as Black women look at them and say, look at you. You ain't doing this. You ain't doing that. What you got? What you gonna bring to say? La, 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 la. What my mama say? La, that toot, toot, and a tweet, tweet. That's what my mom used to say. La, blah, blah, and a toot, toot, and a tweet, tweet. And so we don't talk about that. Like, women, hey, we need to take a step back. Like, you need to look at yourself. Like, did you really just say that to this Black king? Like, what is happening right now? And so those are the things that we need to talk about so that we can lean on each other, so that we can learn from each other, so that we can have real conversation in real time that affects real people. And we'll we'll be able to make some real changes. And that's all I got for you today right here. Thank you so much for joining us for Community Voices. You have been live right here with the Reverend Doctor. You can call me Denise, KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. Don't touch that dial. DJ Delight, that's me too. I'm sitting in for your girl Lola today. I cannot wait to play this jazz with you. I cannot wait. We got some good music coming towards you in just a moment. And I just got a message from Pat Ward. Yes, indeed. I will be a guest on your show tomorrow. So y'all are gonna see me a lot this week. Don't forget, I'm also handling Tony's show on Thursday. So govern yourselves accordingly. I cannot wait to talk to you soon. Okay, bye now.